This is Yiannis Sarris's video response journal for Elliot, A Soldier's Fugue. Question number one, what stood out? I think what stood out to me was how wrapped up I was in this play, how it strung me along, and really had me so invested in Elliot in this experience and this very visceral, first-hand account of war and of family and the effect things can have on all people around you. And, story of hope within darkness, and it was really just fantastic. And very relevant, I found. Question number two, what values are being represented? I think the first value being represented is the importance of family. We see this through, there's two ways we see this mostly. Through Elliot's interaction with his father, Pops, and then through Pops' interaction with his father, Grandpops. We see the importance of reaching out to your family, hearing back from them, and having a connection between family members. Is something Elliot really craves with his father, definitely. And then the second value is finding hope in darkness. We see this when Grandpops plays the flute during the Korean War for his battalion to kind of give them, lighten their load and give them high hopes. We also see this when Pops meets Guinea during the Vietnam War. And those really shows the importance of finding bright moments of happiness and good times in darkness, and how light and hope will always prevail. Something I didn't know, question three, something I didn't know, had to look up, was the word tourniquet or tourniquet during scene 10, which is when Elliot is wrapped up in the barbed wire, which is a device for stopping blood flow. That just made the story make more sense knowing that. Not something I knew before. Question four, how does this reaffirm and challenge ideas of America and the American soldier? I think that by seeing this visceral first-hand account of how war affects people, how it affects their psyche, their families, how, that type of thing, I think Americans have a lot to learn from it in a country that has a lot of war going on all the time. I think this is a very relevant and poignant play for us to understand what it is that soldiers are going through. And I think that it really introduces that psyche to a audience of people who otherwise probably wouldn't understand or connect with it. Question number five, what is fugue and how does Rachel play it? That's interesting because fugue actually is a double meaning. In music, a fugue is a short melody or phrase that is introduced by one part and successively taken up by others and developed interweaving throughout, which is the storytelling structure of the play, which is really interesting. Introduced by Elliot and then taken up by Pops and Grandpops. And it is also, in psychology, it's a state or period of loss of or awareness of one's identity coupled with flight from one's usual environment, which is a reference to the emotional battle all three Ortiz generations battle with during their times at war, struggling to maintain their identity, their connection to their family, and who they are. That shows itself in stuff like the flute and, ways like that. Two questions I have are, what do we as Americans have to learn from this play in terms of how can we affect policy, voters, elections, that type of thing, knowing this? And then number two is, what is the meaning of the flute? What does that symbolize? There's two things to think about. Thanks.